what is going on, everyone? Thanks so much for joining Citizen Pete. If you haven't heard already, Congress is getting ready to or the House is getting ready to vote on whether or not to impeach President Trump. Right now, they are having oral arguments taking place before the vote. The time of the actual vote has been all over the place. I meant to live stream the whole kind of thing, but I figured I would just kind of wait till when the actual vote started to come up. But right now they are debating the measure on the House floor, and we'll tune in live to check in and see what is going on.
Words. Never been a greater betrayal by a president of the United States of his office and his oath to the Constitution. I pride myself as a member of this Congress who for 40 years has worked in a bipartisan fashion with many of your leaders and do to this day. But are we to remain silent in the face of Liz Cheney's saying this was the greatest betrayal of the duty of the President of the United States in history? Are we to stand silent? Will we stand silent? Will we not stand up and say, this is not acceptable? Madam Speaker, for 4 years, Donald Trump has made no effort to hide his ambitions or his lacking of Republican principles. Not our principles, but the principles that Abraham Lincoln was just quoted as having said. Your president, our president, has never displayed those in the 4 years he's been president of the United States. He has allowed little constraint on his worst inclinations. His desire for autocracy and his glorification of violence have not been tempered, but rationalized by those who sought to profit financially and politically from their proximity to power. Upon the foundations of virtue, reason, and patient wisdom laid down by George Washington as our first president, Donald Trump has constructed a glass palace of lies, fear-mongering, and sedition. Last Wednesday, on January 6th, the nation and the world watched it shatter to pieces. There can be no mistaking any longer the kind of man sitting in the Oval Office or his intentions and capabilities. The curtain has been pulled back. The office to which he was elected could not temper or reform him. Washington's legacy was passed down to us not as written decrees. Mr. Speaker, the House is not in order.
The gentleman's correct. The House will be in order.
Washington's legacy was passed down to us not as written decrees, but understood norms. How we ought to act, how we ought to conduct ourselves. Term after term, each occupant has observed those norms out of a recognition that our Constitution's articles are not the only preservative of our democracy. For more than 2 centuries, Madam Speaker, whenever those norms were tested and strained, good and virtuous citizens on both sides of the aisle found common purpose in reaffirming those norms. But memory fades, and from time to time it must be refreshed. Madam Speaker, as the framers emerged from the Constitution Convention, Benjamin Franklin was asked whether they had made America a monarchy or a republic. Probably all of us know this response. A republic, he answered, if you can keep it. That's the question today. If we can keep it. And the way we keep it is to say no to actions and words that do not promote the keeping of that republic. For millennia, people have understood that a republic is only as stable and lasting as the citizens and leaders who commit themselves to its upkeep. This president has shown us he's not committed to that project. His tweets every day have shown he is not committed to that project. Indeed, he openly disdains it and appears to prefer the alternative. But what of the rest of us? Those who have the honor and the great privilege and the weighty responsibility to represent the views of 750,000 of our fellow citizens. We in this Congress have an opportunity, no, a duty, to demonstrate our commitment, both as leaders and as citizens, to keeping America a republic that resolves its differences not through being ordered to come to the Capitol to prevent them from stealing the election, which was an absurd assertion from the very first day it was made. We cannot erase the last 4 years, Madam Speaker. We cannot turn back the clock, but we can look to the ideals and principles inherited from great presidents like Washington, like Jefferson, and yes, certainly like Abraham Lincoln and Franklin Roosevelt, and from outstanding Americans like Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Susan Anthony, Cesar Chavez, Martin Luther King, Thurgood Marshall, our beloved John Lewis, and yes, RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who taught us a lot about equality and inclusion. It's up to us to restore the vibrancy, Madam Speaker, of our democracy by reaffirming our commitment to the norms they passed on to us and entrusted to our care. But to make that possible, Madam Speaker, we must rise to this moment and not only affirm the virtues we cherish, but reject the vices we abhor. That's what I'm asking my fellow representatives on both sides of the aisle to do today. We all stood and we abhorred the violence that occurred and the threat to the very democracy that we hold so dear and swore an oath to protect and uphold. Reject deceit. Reject fear-mongering. Reject sedition, tyranny, and insurrection. Reject the demand for fealty to one man over fidelity to one's country. When I addressed the House during the debate over the articles of impeachment in December 2019, I said the following: we need not ask who will be the first to show our courage by standing up to President Trump. The question we must ask, who will be the last to find it? Senator McConnell, Representative Cheney, a number of other representatives who have spoken on this floor with great courage, Madam Speaker, because there is much fear of Donald Trump. There's much fear of Donald Trump's tweets. There's much fear of Donald Trump's retribution for opposition. In my view, Donald Trump demands absolute loyalty and gives none in return. I hope others will join Liz Cheney. I hope others will be honest with themselves and with their constituents. As Liz Cheney was saying, there has never been a greater betrayal by a President of the United States of his office and his oath to the Constitution. Don't dismiss that. She's the daughter of a Vice President of the United States who was the whip when I came to Congress. As she has taken a stand, I hope others will as well, Madam Speaker. Soon, the clerk will call the roll and ask for our votes. Make no mistake, this will be no ordinary roll call. This is about our country, our Constitution, and our democracy. These votes will be inscribed on the roll of history, a record of courage and of our commitment to country and Constitution, of our commitment to the rule of law and renewal of that which we inherited and hope to pass on, unbroken, unshattered. With just 7 days left in the President's term, this vote is not about timing. It is about principle and fidelity to our Constitution. It concerns the clear and present danger facing our country, not only in these final days of the Trump administration, but in the weeks, months, and years that will follow. It is about the necessity to demonstrate to this generation and to future generations the duty we share to protect our democracy every single day. Do not pretend, my friends, that it was simply those who came into the Capitol, encouraged by our president to stop the steal at any cost. And by the way, if the vice president doesn't do my bidding and follows the Constitution, sweep him away. We know that this president would never emulate George Washington and give up his power for the good of our republic, even after losing an election. Somebody talked about a peaceful transition. There has not been a peaceful transition. I don't know what you're talking about. You're not living in the same country I am. It was just days ago that the president, after committing this terrible act, thought he had to admit that Joe Biden might, yes, be president of the United States. We know that this president neither recognizes norms nor reflects the rule of law. We know that this president is not a patriot. So I ask this House, who among us, Madam Speaker, will be recorded on the roll of history for their courage, their commitment, the Constitution, and their country? We do this today not for politics. We don't need this for politics. Georgia showed that. There was no mistake in this election. We do this today to preserve and protect this great democracy. We do it for the America we love, our America the beautiful, whose founders' sacrifices we praise in song. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. Sadly, Madam Speaker, as our current president, the appropriate words would be, who less than self his country loved, and victory more than truth. Vote for this, for America, for our Constitution, for democracy, for history. I yield back the balance of my time.
All time for debate has expired. Pursuant to House Resolution 41, the previous question is ordered on the resolution. The question is on adoption of the resolution. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized. For what reason?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We'd ask for a roll call vote.
Pursuant to Section 3S of House Resolution 8, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by an electronic device.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you guys enjoyed that nice speech there. One thing I did not realize about what's going on in the Capitol now, listening to one of these speeches, is that there are now 15,000, troops, essentially National Guard troops in the Capitol, which is actually more troops in the capital, Washington, D.C., that has more troops in it right now than Iraq and Afghanistan, which is absolutely insane. So as you see right there, they are voting on the resolution. So this process is probably going to take about 45 minutes. So it's probably going to take a little bit. Oh, hold on one second.
Strickland of Washington, pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Ms. Strickland will vote yes on H-Res 24.
Gentleman from California seek recognition.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss anything, but they're essentially they're for folks who are voting who are not actually there. They're having people kind of phone in their votes in a way, I guess. But essentially, so right now, because of the COVID protocols, not everyone can be on the floor at the same time. So this process is probably going to take around 45 minutes. So lock in. We are going to be here for a while. But if you haven't already, go ahead and leave me maybe a chat in the live stream. It is I always want to talk with you guys, see how you guys are doing. Hey, what's up, OG? How you doing? Well, what's up, man? Thanks for checking on in. And seeing what is going on. Let me know in the chat. Say what's going on. Good to talk with you guys. I love responding to comments. And if you haven't already, do me a favor, like the channel, maybe subscribe. I very much appreciate it. But yeah, right now they are just kind of going through the votes. They're going through folks who aren't there and folks who are kind of voting from afar. They actually did want to allow voting from folks who aren't actually at the Capitol, like televoting, but they were stopped. The GOP essentially stopped that for this vote, which is interesting. So now people are going to have to actually register their votes in person at the Capitol. Very strange kind of thing. Outside of the Capitol, I'm also keeping an idea of what is going on. Trying to get an idea of, will there be potential protests out there. Here's a live look from outside of the Capitol. As you can see, there are a ton of National Guard troops armed and ready just in case anything happens. I'm not exactly sure where this shot is coming from, but this is the only shot I've been able to find so far of the National Guard troops. I'm going to look around for more, see if there are any active protests going on. I haven't heard of anything planned, but there's supposed to be protests coming up this weekend, but nothing for the actual vote today. So with that said, I guess we'll just keep watching some of these votes come in. Again, this is a long process. It can take like 45 minutes because they're voting in stages to not vote all at once. So we'll keep watching that, and I'll jump back in when anything happens.
And finally, as the member designated by Mr. Paul Tonko, pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Mr. Tonko will vote yes on H-Res 24.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Kansas seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, as the member designated by Mr. LaTurner, Kansas, pursuant to House Resolution 8, I inform the House that Mr. LaTurner will vote nay on House Resolution 24.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Illinois seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, as the member designated by Ms. Presley of Massachusetts, pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Ms. Presley will vote yes on H-Res 24.
Does the gentleman from Connecticut seek recognition?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as the member designated by Mr. Adam Smith of Washington State, pursuant to House Resolution 8, I inform the House that Mr. Smith will vote yes on H-Res 24.
I'll let them do this. Okay, you good? For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Illinois seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, as the member designated by Mr. Carson pursuant to HRES 8, I inform the House that Mr. Carson will vote yes on HRES 24.
What purpose does the gentleman from New York seek recognition?
As the member designated by Chairwoman Eddie Bernice Johnson pursuant to HRES 8, I inform the House that Chairwoman Johnson will vote yea on HRES 24. As the member designated by Congressman Brendan Boyle pursuant to HRES 8, I inform the House that Congressman Boyle will vote yea on HRES 24.
So as I mentioned before, we're still letting those votes kind of trickle on in. It's going to be a bit of a long process there, but as you can see, so far the resolution looks like it's going to pass by a pretty significant margin there. I believe there are more. Excuse me. I believe there are more than. Sorry, wrong pipe. Yeah, I believe there are more than 200 House Democrats. I think 218 House Democrats that are signed on for impeachment, and they're being joined by a couple of Republicans. As you can see, there are 4 Republicans that have voted yes to impeach President Trump, and so we're just kind of waiting to see how high that margin will actually be. For the actual purpose of the vote being successful, it technically doesn't really matter how big the margin is, but it's just it's people going on record and saying whether or not you support the president and his insurrection movements here. And so I'm very interested to see how many Republicans are actually going to be a part of this. For a while, I thought this was all just kind of, theater, nothing really that much to see here as far as because they can impeach Trump, right? And that is saying a very strong message to him. But the whole goal for Democrats here is to try to impeach him to stop him from ever being able to hold federal office again. There's a couple other things like being able to stop his pension. He won't have a Secret Service detail anymore. So there's a couple of things like that. But the main thing that Democrats want here is to send a strong message after the insurrection last week. And also, they want to make sure that Trump can't ever hold office again. And the only way that happens, and it's not even clear that that's would happen if he's actually impeached, but he needs to be impeached in the House and convicted in the Senate. And so there has been a lot of back and forth about whether or not that could actually happen. For him to get impeached in the Senate, he needs to get, there needs to be 67 votes to actually impeach him. And that's not going to happen before Trump leaves office. Mitch McConnell has said that they will not convene until the 19th. Biden is inaugurated on the 20th, so we're probably not going to get an actual vote on this for months. From hearing from folks in the Capitol, I thought this was kind of like, all right, they'll impeach him, but then it's not really going to go anywhere. Supposedly, there are a large group of Republicans who would actually vote to impeach him and kick him out, enough to reach that 67 vote threshold. But the thing I'm wondering about, again, is they're probably not going to vote on it for months. Biden is on record saying that he doesn't want to spend the first part of his administration fighting the battles of the last administration. So I think Democrats are probably actually going to not send over the articles of impeachment. Once they impeach today, they're not going to send over the articles over to the Senate for potentially a couple months so the newly Democratic Congress can focus on things dealing with the coronavirus and stimulus packages and all that kind of stuff, right? So we're not going to actually find out whether or not Republicans are going to vote to impeach Trump or convict Trump for quite a while. But I am very interested to see, and look, we just got another Republican there. So I'm very interested to see, okay, how many Republicans are actually going to sign on this from the House side. As I mentioned before, as that is going on, they are actively setting up barriers and stuff outside of the Capitol in anticipation of protests this week. There are actually 15,000 National Guard troops in D.C. right now as we speak, which is apparently more than are in Iraq and Afghanistan, which is a very horrifying thing to think about. But they are actively getting ready. And I've been looking around. I haven't actually seen any protesters in D.C. or any rioters in D.C. Today. So it looks like they're just trying to set this up for anticipation for what's going to happen with the inauguration over the weekend. Don't anticipate any crazy protests or any storming of the Capitol like last week. Even though I didn't think they were going to storm the Capitol. I don't think anyone thought they were going to do all that. But yeah, that's a quick little recap of what's going on. Let's head back to the Senate floor as they continue to count in the votes. You will hear people chime in. Basically, folks who have they're voting for people who are not at the Capitol or at their house at this time, voting absentee. There's about 3 minutes left, and I'm not entirely sure if that's when they'll have the entire vote done. Again, this process is a little bit different with COVID. They're voting not all at once like they normally would, but in stages to try to make sure that the House floor isn't full all at the same time. So I'm not exactly sure if they will be completely done by the end of that, now about 2 minutes and 40 seconds there. I'm not sure if that will be the complete end of it, but we will wait and see. But we are most likely just moments away from watching President Trump become the first president to be impeached for a second time. And for his part, Trump did release a statement from the White House today. Let's see if I could pull that up here for you. I think that is interesting to check out. Yeah, let's see if I can pull that up for you. Hold on one second. Yeah, so Trump did release a statement talking about today. Here it is right here. For official release, in light of the reports of more demonstrations, I urge that there must be no violence, no lawbreaking, no vandalism of any kind. This is not what I stand for, and it is not what what America stands for. I call on all Americans to help ease tensions and calm tempers. Thank you. Again, that is coming from the office of the press secretary at the White House. And as you can see, they are continuing to vote here. One of the interesting things coming out from this is, that, for a lot of folks, I watched that whole, the storming of the Capitol. I watched the whole thing. And there are a lot of people that were actively responding to what Trump was telling them to do and not to do. So when he said go home, they went home. And so Trump's word actually goes pretty big with these people. But let's keep watching the vote.
8, I inform the House that Mr. Young will vote nay on House Resolution 24. Thank you.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Indiana seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, as the member designated by Mr. Baird from Indiana pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Mr. Baird will vote no on H-Res 24.
Does the gentlewoman for Virginia seek recognition?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As the member designated by Mr. McEachin pursuant to House Resolution 8, I inform the House that Mr. McEachin will vote yes on House Resolution 24. And as the member designated by Ms. Porter pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Ms. Porter will vote yes on H-Res 24.
Okay, so the timer has out there, but as you can see, there are still a number of votes outstanding. So again, we're just going to kind of waiting for the process there. See what happens. The audio keeps going in and out because Sorry, that's a little doubled audio there. My bad. And thanks for OG for pointing out that that echo there. That's been it's an annoying thing I'm working on to try to figure out with my live stream setup. But yeah, the reason why the audio is going out is because they have the mics off up until someone comes in to basically register a vote for someone who's not actually at the Capitol today. So that's why that's going in and out there. That is what is happening with that. But yeah, so Bob, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. Thanks so much for leaving a comment. That question of, okay, they couldn't wait just a week, which is very interesting. So the way with, politics is it's a very momentum driven kind of thing, right? I mean, if you would ask me, I actually plan on doing a segment a couple weeks ago about, questioning whether or not Democrats would seek to impeach Trump a second time. And I thought there was absolutely no way whatsoever that they would actually vote to impeach him again. And so, really, with the storming of the Capitol, I mean, that was a very big momentum shift for everyone. I mean, even Ted Cruz, who has been backing the president even after he called said some disparaging things about his wife and said his dad killed JFK. The storming of the Capitol is what finally turned Ted Cruz against Trump. And so this has just been a massive, massive momentum shift after the Capitol was stormed. And Democrats, right or wrong, they want to use that momentum to reach to impeach Trump for a second time. Again, I don't think anyone thought this was possible just weeks ago. And really, the impeachment last time, it wasn't necessarily a win for Democrats, right? It was kind of messy. The process dragged out for a very long time. And politically, it's kind of a bit of a back and forth there. There's definitely some debate on whether it was good for them or not good for them. I mean, I think polling around the issue really kind of showed it wasn't a slam dunk win with the impeachment there. And it kind of gave, I mean, even though I think he definitely should have been impeached after the Ukraine call, you read the transcript of it, you look at it, and they should have impeached him. I mean, he held up government aid to another country to try to get dirt on Joe Biden. Not just holding up aid. I think what people miss a lot from this is aid that was for defense spending for Ukraine. They're right now basically locked in a bit of a civil war, and what it really is Russia sending over troops to mess with Ukraine's democratically elected government, right? So we were actually sending them stuff that they can use to defend themselves because civilians are being killed. There's an active war going on in Ukraine, right? And so that $400 billion that Trump held up, which sparked the first impeachment, I mean, that was to go to help protect people. So I'm wondering how many people died because they didn't get that aid because, again, Trump trying to hold them hostage. But again, that was not necessarily a slam dunk political win for the Democrats. They didn't frame it in the right way, in my opinion. They didn't do a good job of actually explaining to the American people what they were doing there. So wasn't very successful on their part. But this time it is very, very different. So this time I think it's right now everything is trending is that people want Trump gone. And that's why you're seeing the massive shift that you're seeing here today. So it looks like we are about to 100 of people who are waiting for 100 votes to still come in. And so, again, we're just waiting for all those votes to be tabulated to find out officially whether or not Trump will become only the second president to be impeached the first president to only be impeached for a second time.
Does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
As the member designated by Congressman Jerry McNerney pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Mr. McNerney will vote yes on H-Res 24.
Does the gentleman from Pennsylvania seek recognition?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As a member designated by Mr. Doyle of Pennsylvania.
All right, as we are watching the vote come in, I thought I'd quickly check on what is going on around the Capitol itself. They are erecting barricades. Again, it doesn't look like there's any protesters out there right now. There is a ton of National Guard troops that are out on the streets, and it seems like they have a very, very, very well secured area. But it doesn't look like there's any protests or anything going on there. So I'll keep an eye on it for you, and I'm looking for other streams to show if there is anyone actually on the street, any protesters, rioters. But if there are, they're gonna run into some serious trouble there. Again, it is looking like a quiet day outside of the Capitol as this vote is going on.
That Ms. Ocasio-Cortez will vote yes on House Res 24.
All right, y'all, we are about 75 votes away. I feel like I should have put some music or something together for this. I didn't know there's going to be a lot of silence this whole time as we're waiting for the votes to come in.
Purposes, the gentlewoman from New Jersey seek recognition.
Madam Speaker, as the member designated by Mr. Schneider pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Mr. Schneider will vote yes on H-Res 24.
Gentlewoman from Michigan seek recognition.
As the member designated by Ms. Lee of Nevada pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Ms. Lee will vote yea on H-Res 24. As the member designated by Ms. Axney pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Ms. Axney will vote yes on H-Res 24. As the member designated by Mrs. Dingle pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Mrs. Dingle will vote yes on H-Res 24. As the member designated by Ms. Capter pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Ms. Capter will vote yes on H-Res 24.
To be honest, I am a little surprised that there are so many folks who are actually not there voting at the Capitol today. I mean, like, what else do you have going on a Wednesday that you're gonna miss out on this vote? Yeah, that was pretty crazy to me. I was expecting it to be a packed house there, but hey, I guess not. So again, as we are under 60 votes now, 56 votes waiting to come in. We are still waiting to see officially whether or not Trump will be impeached for a second time. And again, a lot of these folks you see coming in, they are locking in votes for people who are not actually at the Capitol today. Republican, representatives, they got a lot going on, I guess. So they were not around for this one. And so, yeah, we're getting close to that, the last kind of votes coming in. You're going to see a lot of these people pop in and say, locking in votes for people who are there, are not there. And here you go, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the former DNC chairwoman. She was DNC chairwoman when Hillary's, during the 2016 presidential campaign. A lot of people might recognize her as, one of the people who helped keep Bernie from actually winning that nomination there. I know it's kind of a bit of a touchy subject there, but hey, there she is, still in Congress. Unfortunately, a lot of these people just never leave. But yeah, as we're getting close here, 50 votes, just counting them on down, y'all.
Gentlemen from Indiana seek recognition.
Madam Speaker, as a member designated by Ms. Walorski pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Ms. Walorski will vote nay on H-Res 24.
All right, so we're just at that 40 vote mark. Just waiting for the votes to come on in. Checking out as we watch the Senate. A lot of folks not really paying attention to the social distancing protocols, but hey, what you gonna do, right? But yeah, there's we're just kind of waiting for the last votes coming in. It is interesting watching the stream now and seeing pretty much everyone wear masks. They recently just upped the fines quite a bit for folks who are on the House floor and not wearing a mask. So I assume that is why you've got some people masked on up at the moment. But again, we are just waiting for these last few votes to come in. It seems like usually this process takes about 45 minutes. It has not quite gotten to that point yet, but we are getting close. So I just want to say thanks for checking out the stream. If you haven't already, again, subscribe to the channel. Very much appreciate having you guys around, and I'll keep bringing you more political stuff in the future. I usually do a live stream show, and I'm trying to get like a more consistent basis for that. So I'll kind of let you guys know, and when I start doing like just kind of regular live streams, I usually don't just kind of focus on events, but this has been a crazy time, so I'm here to cover it all for you.
Pursuant to H.Res. 8, I inform the House that Mr. Blumenauer will vote yes on H.Res. 24. As the member designated by Mr. Liu, pursuant to H.Res. 8, I inform the House that Mr. Liu will vote yes on H.Res. 24. As the member designated by Mr. Lowenthal, pursuant to H.Res. 8, I inform the House that Mr. Lowenthal will vote yes on H.Res. 24. As the member designated by Mr. Peters, pursuant to H.Res. 8, I inform the House that Mr. Peters will vote yes on H.Res. 24.
All right, 30 votes. We are just around 30 votes remaining in this vote to decide whether or not to impeach President Trump for a second time, becoming the first president to have that happen to him. And so yeah, we're just waiting for the last little votes to kind of trickle in. Again, this process usually takes a while anyway, but because of all the COVID guidelines, it is taking even longer. In case you have been living under a rock for, the last week or so, this vote comes after a MAGA mob stormed the Capitol and literally put Congress members' lives in jeopardy. They were sheltering in place for hours. At one point, they had to put on gas masks because there was, tear gas in the Capitol. But yes, this is what has precipitated this entire thing. This apparently was the line that could not be crossed for a lot of folks in Congress who do support the president. They could not support him anymore after they were forced to shelter in place themselves for hours. I can't help but see some of these images and wonder, okay, so there has been a total lock on school shootings, them trying to increase regulations and stuff around guns after school shootings around the country. And now that Congress folks have had to shelter in place themselves, I can only wonder if there's going to be more of a push to make sure our schools are safe. But hey, that's just me. So again, we're now just kind of waiting for the votes to kind of trickle on in. These are folks who are putting in votes for people who are not actually at the Capitol today, but which is a weird day to not show up. But hey, we're under 15 votes, y'all. So we're making progress here. We are getting close to seeing if this is gonna pass. Though it is it's already pretty much guaranteed to pass based on the pre-counting of the votes there. At this point, when you just kind of look at the differences between the yays and nays, it's basically passed already. Though it is surprising to see, all right, we have 10 Republicans who joined the Democrats on this one. Honestly surprised that it's not more, but hey, what are you going to do? I guess I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised, unfortunately. But hey, yeah, we're just kind of counting in the last couple of votes here.
Resolution 24.
So as I've mentioned before, I am watching the stream of you guys commenting. Thanks so much for actually commenting, and let me know what you think about what's going on. This is definitely a very crazy day for our country. Sorry about the echo there. It's definitely a very crazy day for our country. We're under 10 votes. Look at that. And right now, essentially, this is passed. Right, Trump has been impeached by the House for the second time, becoming the first president to do so. I can't help but watch these votes come in and watch this happen and think about, if you want to turn the clock back a little bit, for when Trump was first inaugurated, he said the American carnage ends now. And really the carnage was apparently just beginning. And I think this kind of has solidified Trump as the worst president in the history of the United States. I know there's a lot of hyperbole there, right? We've had folks like Andrew Jackson, who essentially committed war crimes against the Native American population of the United States, forcing them with the Trail of Tears. We've had some pretty horrible presidents in the history of the United States. There are some who have maybe drank themselves out of office. Not looking very good for them there. We've had folks who have showed KKK films at the White House that were, avid white supremacists. We've had all kinds of crazy folks who were just horrible leaders, but we have never had a president be impeached twice until today. And as we just wait for these last remaining votes to come in, really it's a done process at this point because the yays have the margin here. And so this is just kind of watching the last little bit of vote here. But officially, in the next couple of minutes, Trump will become only the second president to have been impeached or the first president to be impeached for a second time. All right, just 5 votes left. 5 votes left to go here. But again, with the margin the way that it is now, this is kind of this is kind of the process is essentially already over. There's so many votes right now for impeachment that It's pretty much official. We're just waiting for them to dot those I's, cross those T's. But yes, Trump is now the first president to be impeached for a second time. Really trying to see how many times I could actually say that in one stream, right? It's pretty crazy. I mean, this is a very, very historic moment. Did not see this coming a couple weeks ago. This is a very, very striking thing indeed. And with all the, whenever there is some interesting history being made on the Republican side here, I do like to check in with Fox News and see what they're complaining about.
Correct. He's tight now on the guards.
They all met on the floor. She already named them. She announced them last night, and they are formally set up to present that case. But we don't know what the situation is, whether or not the Senate, they have special authority where under emergencies they can come back into session. And if that's the case, if the House, in fact, votes to send over that article of impeachment, then you have to probably start right away. January 15th last year is when the House voted to send the article of impeachment across to the Senate. They started the Senate trial the next day. That's where you formally present the articles of impeachment before the Senate. The impeachment managers are there. People are sworn in, and then you get going a day or two later here. We don't know if that will be the case. If they look out,
again, the House is widely expected to not send over the articles of impeachment, at least for a couple of months. The thing is that Joe Biden has said that he does not want the beginning of his administration to be taken up with this, with anything to do related to Trump, right? He is ready to turn the page and wants to find a way for Americans to come together. And there's it really would be nice for Americans, and for Democrats and Republicans to come together, more than just 10 of them in the House to actually come together to vote to impeach Trump. I mean, if they really wanted unity, that's what they would kind of do. But again, Joe Biden has, and kind of what might be a little bit of a boss move, right? He's basically said, hey, I got better things to do than deal with Trump. I mean, he's been saying that for a while, right? So he is essentially, they are going to impeach him here, and barring a very, very dramatic shift in what's going on in the Capitol right now, they are going to sit on these articles of impeachment for weeks, potentially months, because again, in case you haven't noticed, we're in the middle of fighting a massive pandemic. Democrats have promised to give out $2,000 checks, which I believe is they're just upping the $600. They're going to give an additional $1,400 direct stimulus to Americans. That's what they promised to do if they won Georgia. And so right now, that is their number one legislative issue for when the newly Democratic Congress convenes for the first time after Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff are sworn in, with both Democratic senators winning in Georgia, right? Georgia there. And so again, their main legislative goal is to jump on the coronavirus, right? To tackle, COVID direct relief to Americans. And so they're trying to make sure that folks get the stimulus they need when with all this pandemic stuff going on. And so even though this is passing right now, and again, it has the votes to pass, it is going to probably just sit on Nancy Pelosi's desk for quite a while before they actually take it up in the Senate. Now, the rumor is in the Senate, and again, it's just a rumor, that they actually do have the votes to convict President Trump. It is not entirely clear to me whether or not that is going to happen. I would be very, very shocked if the Senate actually did vote to convict Trump. They have not really. There's been a lot of folks. There's Pat Toomey. There's Lisa Murkowski. There's been a lot of Republican senators who have come and said that they back impeachment. But you don't know till you know. And there's even a question of, I believe Joe Manchin says he's on board. But now Joe Manchin is just in this interesting position where he's kind of like the, he can kind of help decide. Yeah, he's the lone kind of moderate. Well, I won't say the lone moderate, but he represents West Virginia. And so his vote there, he like, for example, he has not said he is down with the $2,000 checks. And so it's kind of a question there whether or not he will support that. But anyway, Biden wants to focus on that with his upcoming administration. Doesn't want to focus on anything related to Trump. And so this could be, this is the beginning of this whole saga of Trump's impeachment. not the end. So yeah, let's tune back in here, see, just waiting for these last votes to come in. But again, this is essentially a done deal.
Have all members voted? Does any member wish to change a vote? Is she coming? No, can't.
The whole time I'm watching this, I'm just thinking like, Bueller. Well, there is Nancy Pelosi there, the Speaker of the House. Yeah, waiting to make sure everyone has voted, which apparently I believe 5 people have not. So, again, we are just waiting to say it is official that Trump has been impeached for the second time. I really wish someone out there would kind of keep track of how many times I've said that, because it's been quite a bit. But yeah, we're just kind of waiting for her to hit that gavel and make it official.
On this vote, the ayes are 232. The nays are 197. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Congratulations. That's it. What now?
Yep, that is it, y'all. That's a wrap. President Trump has now officially been impeached. Yep, what a shocker. There's been a bit of a nail biter. Not really. It's one of those weird things in politics. This is just watching the actual proceedings, even though everyone knew this was going to happen.
Resolution 40 is hereby adopted.
Stop right here.
Stop after The chair announces the Speaker's appointment pursuant to Clause 11 of Rule 10, Clause 11 of Rule 1, in the order the following of the House of January 4th, 2021, of the following members of the House to the Permanent Select Committee.
All right, so now they're essentially just kind of going back and doing other kind of legislative things there. A lot of stuff going on in Congress. I mean, hey, there's as Nancy Pelosi said there, what's next? Because hey, they're Congress, they got a lot of stuff to do, right? So yeah, there you go. Trump has been impeached for just the second time. I wanted to check in with CNN's coverage and see what they
want to try to avoid. So these are the types of conversations that Mitch McConnell has to have. Mitch McConnell has been known very well for keeping his conference together. You started to see attrition on that, on the COVID bill, when the president initially balked at signing the coronavirus bill and said, wait a minute, I'm not going to sign it unless you add $2,000 checks to that. So you had Republicans all over the map on that. There certainly has been attrition in support for the president, naturally, because his term is coming to an end. Number two, there are many Republicans in this building right now who are apoplectic at the president over his conduct last week and just how malignant that was, and what happened to the legislative branch of government. So, that is a bit of a moving target. People don't really know what's going to happen there. And again, as you say, it's 2/3. It is a high. Now, Neil, as I'm listening here, I'm listening to Betty McCollum.
Sorry about that. It looks like the audio is maybe coming from the wrong
who
source.
Presided over the debate. As far as I could tell, they did not approve that other resolution.
This is the most bipartisan impeachment vote in the history
of the United States. This is
Did not
more
know that.
bipartisan than the impeachment vote of any previous president. And I should note that in addition to the Republicans who voted, Abby, to impeach the president, there are a number of Republicans who did not vote to impeach the president, but laid the blame for the terrorist attack at his feet, including, for instance, Congressman Chip Roy of Texas, who said he wasn't going to vote for impeachment because he was concerned about the way that the resolution was written, but that he did blame President Trump for the incident.
And even Kevin McCarthy, who, as we've discussed, was part of this conspiracy to spread lies about the election, but
Which
as
is
a close
interesting
ally
to do.
of
But
President
anyway,
Trump's,
I will
said
close
today.
this, and we'll kind of move on here. But yes, yeah, there you have it. Trump has been impeached for for a second time, becoming again the first president to do so. A very historic day for sure. Very dark day for our country. I mean, that's anytime you're impeaching the leader of the free world, it's not a good thing. I believe I'm trying to think. I think Bill Clinton was the last president to be impeached, and I'm not sure who was before that. But it's something that doesn't happen very often. It's not a good sign of where our country is at, that an impeachment happens in the first place. Much less, I believe, 7 days before the president actually leaves office. It's just kind of it's a not good thing to happen. But again, there had to be some kind of consequences for what happened last week for folks actually storming the Senate there. Have it checking in with the chat. I am let me hold on one sec. Make sure this is off. Let me check in. Check in with the chat.
The Senate is
Hold on
typically not as staunchly conservative and Trumpian and partisan as the House is.
Let me turn this off. Let me respond to some of your comments here. Hey, glad some of this echo stuff is getting worked out. Oops. Let me blow that up there. Yeah, still working on this echo stuff. Don't know why it's well, I mean, I know exactly why it's happening, but I'm still working on it. But yes, yeah, the presidency has had a lot of firsts. That's right. Is that Gekoga? Yeah, sorry, I'm not good with names. But yes, this is another first for the Trump presidency, becoming only the first president to be impeached for a second time. And yes, we will see if the Senate's going to do their job. I mean, right now, I have a hard time thinking they're actually going to convict him. As they mentioned in a little bit of CNN coverage there, Mitch McConnell has been very good about keeping his caucus together. Kind of like, if you got to give some praise to Nancy Pelosi on the Democratic side, because she kind of runs the Democrats in the House like a very, very tightly run ship. You know, like there's very little dissension among the ranks of Democrats in the House. They usually all follow what Nancy Pelosi says and does. There's not a whole lot of dissension there. On the Republican side, Mitch McConnell, well, there's different rules in the Senate there, but by and large, he's also been able to keep Republicans in line up until now. And a lot of folks in his caucus, a lot of folks in the Republicans in the Senate have actually agreed to sign on or support this impeachment. We will see if they'll do so when Trump is no longer in office, because again, Mitch McConnell set the rules of the Senate that they won't actually reconvene, at least right now, unless he changes this. He says they won't reconvene until January 19th. Again, the inauguration is on January 20th. There are different rules in the Senate for conducting an impeachment. There has to actually be a trial, so evidence has to be presented. Witnesses have to, well, they don't necessarily have to allow witnesses, as we saw with the last impeachment, but it's a whole thing, right? And Joe Biden has said he does not want this to take up the first part of his presidency. So most likely these articles of impeachment are just going to sit there collecting dust for the next couple of weeks or months until Congress wants to take them up in the future. My prediction is that we will maybe see Trump a vote come up in the Senate towards the end of Biden's first 100 days in office. That's my prediction. Not sure if that is going to happen, but we will see. As with most things with politics, it's interesting seeing how the pendulum swings and what's actually going to happen. Today, I did not see today happening a couple weeks ago, even though I had heard about these planned protests for this January 6th protest, the Stop the Steal protest. I did not think it was going to be much of anything, and I was definitely wrong there. Yeah, if you make predictions, you're going to be wrong. every once in a while, right? So, again, thanks so much for checking out the stream this historic day. Tune in. I'm going to be trying to do maybe more of a scheduled live streams in the future. I usually do a lot of my segments as just part of a show, and so I'm going to be trying to do that show on a more consistent basis. So keep an eye out for that. Also, there is going to be some planned protests in D.C. this weekend. So far, I've heard folks say that there will be protests on the 6th. I've heard anywhere from the 16th to the 17th to the 19th. Apparently, there is a million militia march planned, I believe, for the 21st, which apparently there's also a planned march by Black Lives Matter on D.C. to ask for reparations on the same day. What could go wrong, right? But yeah, there's definitely a lot of chaos potentially coming to the Capitol soon, and I will try to stay on top of it, and I will bring you the latest. But excuse me. Thanks so much for tuning in to the live stream for this historic day, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like, and again, thanks so much for tuning in and checking it out.